All right. Well, thank you, Matt, and for an interesting presentation. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon to our Retail Test Automation Day online. Clearly, we are really excited to have you here. What we're going to do over the next sort of 20 minutes or so is I'm going to expand a little bit on what Matt was talking about in his previous session. And we're going to double click on a few of the things that he mentioned, particularly around test automation for people that are working in this space in retail. And so just before we start, I think it is worth talking briefly about some of the really unique challenges that retail is facing. And I think no presentation in 2021 can possibly fail to mention the pandemic. I mean, the fact that we're all here probably at home on Zoom having this session, instead of all meeting up together in a venue somewhere, and we all hope that we can do that very soon, is kind of testament to how much impact the pandemic has had. And I'm always, when I raise this topic, I'm always reminded of a photo that's appeared on LinkedIn a lot, which is a kind of board meeting of a bunch of people around a table discussing digital transformation, and a wrecking ball coming to destroy the building, which says COVID-19. And it just kind of illustrates, I think, the incredible impact that the pandemic has had on all of our businesses. And I think really there are very few, verticals that have had as much impact as retail. And it's not just the lockdowns when non-essential retail has been closed, but it's the way that the pandemic has kind of accelerated the existing trends that we had from, this kind of slow and steady and long growth of online retail. You can kind of see some headlines that I've put on the screen here showing, some online retailers particularly reporting some pretty impressive results as people have only been able to shop at home, and also some interesting potentially permanent changes to the patterns of both economics and buyer behavior. For example, there's a headline there from the Financial Times about how perhaps with the pandemic and the fact that everyone's had a taste of shopping for groceries online, maybe this has created scale that means that's finally profitable. So the pandemic has kind of massively accelerated existing trends in our industries. And one of those, of course, is really fierce competition disruption from pure online players in practically the entire industry. So I think moving away from these kind of macro business trends, in software development and in IT as well, we have a really unique set of requirements and circumstances in retail. And the first is something I call extreme velocity. There's very few other industries where a single viral tweet or an Instagram post by a competitor requires us to respond in an hour, in hours, to try and capture that mood. But that happens in retail, particularly in particularly in online retail. And so in retail, we have a need in many cases for extreme velocity, being able to change our applications incredibly quickly. We also have customers that have a really low tolerance for app performance and quality. And if we think about our own experiences as consumers, this makes a lot of sense. We've all had an experience where we've gone to go and buy something online. We've found that the app threw us an error, or perhaps it was super slow, it took seconds to move between screens. And we've just thought, no, too much effort, I'll go with one of their competitors. So also in this space, we have a situation where our customers have super low tolerance for problems in our applications. And I know you've seen this slide just before, but I think it's really important to reiterate here. we're all here because we're in industries that require us to deliver software that just works. Our customers expect reliable experiences across every touch point we have with them, whether that's a mobile device, a tablet, or a desktop computer, whether it's at 3 a.m. or at 3 p.m. Our customers expect flawless experiences with us at every touch point. And if they don't get it, they can go to our competitors. And Matt highlighted some of the research done by some analysts around how impactful that can be for our businesses. And this is a lot of responsibility for us as software people involved in the software development lifecycle. Starting to double click now on testing in particular. I would say most people on this call are probably involved in testing in some way, development or software development or testing. And our world is also really changing. Firstly, velocity is not slowing down. So as we move forward, the speed with which we need to release code into production is continuing to increase. And continuous deployment has become kind of table stakes. We need to all be doing this. And what's quite interesting to me when thinking about retail is how CI/CD as a kind of concept and process was really spearheaded by online retailers, people like Amazon. They're famous. We release to production every 11 seconds. I think, just again, proving how important velocity is to retailers. So we're going to continue to need to move more quickly. We're also seeing testing shift left and right. Matt touched on this as well. Testing is increasingly being performed by developers early in the life cycle and also by people late in the life cycle. So people in production, increasingly performing different kinds of checks, tests, and monitoring that we need to capture and understand. So continually testing is moving away from a small group of dedicated people to a large group of people doing it for various different purposes across the life cycle. And of course, all of this is resulting in us increasingly getting nervous about how we are releasing quality experiences to our customers. We need to feel confident that our software works for our customers every time. And it's becoming increasingly difficult when we're releasing into production more and more quickly, and the people involved in testing become so much more broad, from developers to SDETs and quality engineers through to production people, and even marketing is becoming a new kind of new wave of people involved in testing our applications. So these are a not insignificant set of challenges that are facing us. And so to help kind of cope with this, we've come up with as an industry, we've come up with lots of solutions. On this slide, we have 3 bubbles, and the left bubble is development, and the kinds of tests and checks that our development team traditionally is responsible for. You can see static code analysis, unit tests, and so on. In the middle bubble, we have staging. These are the kinds of tests traditionally performed by SDETs, quality engineers, and testers. End-to-end performance tests, integration, regression, performance, and so on. On the right-hand side, we have the shift right. So the kinds of tests that are performed late in the release cycle, UAT, production, debugging, error reporting, the kinds of things that give us signal to let us know whether how does it feel to really be a customer of ours in production. And kind of in accordance with this, testing shifting to the development and also production space, lots of new tools have emerged. We have Cypress and Test Cafe and Puppeteer and Playwright, specifically designed to make it easy for our developers to produce automated tests. We have, specific tools for SDETs and quality engineering, Selenium and Appium, designed to help us do huge volumes of regression tests and end-to-end testing across multiple states. And of course, we have production, New Relic, Backtrace, Airbrake, Rollbar, the kinds of monitoring and production testing tools that give us a sense on, what is the experience of customers in production right now. And this has become really complex all of a sudden, just in the last couple of years. We have all of this proliferation of new tools. They're all really important. All of these tools meet a need for testing for a specific purpose and persona, whether it's Cypress for developers or Rollbar for people in production. But importantly, none of these things integrate. And none of these things, therefore, give us a sense of real confidence. Once we get to production, is our code of a quality that's providing a flawless experience for our customers? And so we think it's necessary to start thinking about a DevOps test tool chain. And this is the vision that we have for Source Labs, of providing a single view of quality across your entire software development lifecycle by taking the data of your developers doing testing and using the tools that they want to use, the testing that's done by SDET's quality engineers and testing people, and also ingest data from production, from error reporting and crash logs, so that we can understand holistically what is the quality of the application we're releasing, collaborate across the different teams, and provide insights so that we know what to test and when, and integrate that into our development cycle. So we think this is the vision for the future of how test development and test works with DevOps. And as part of that, of course, we've provided a set of capabilities that help you gain this digital confidence. Matt spoke a little bit about all of the different capabilities on this screen, from the new products that we've introduced this year, Test Fairy for mobile app distribution, development process, feedback, crash logs for mobile apps and so on, autonomic low-code web automation for citizen testers, and you'll see a demonstration of that in the next session. Screener to help us spot UI inconsistencies, catching them early in the development cycle, API Fortress for API testing, and then of course our traditional Source Labs product, which is test execution, running automated manual tests at high scale in the cloud for web and mobile devices. And I'm going to talk now, double click a little bit on these particular traditional Source web and mobile automation features. The first is, of course, our virtual desktop and device cloud. And many of you, if you've used Source Labs in the past, we're quite familiar with this. We have continually one of the world's largest online test execution platforms. We have hundreds of different browser and operating system combinations. So if you are testing a website, you need to make sure it works on desktops, on real devices, on tablets. You need to make sure it works on Safari and on Chrome and on Edge. We have all of those ready for you to test within just a couple of seconds. We also have the scale of the cloud. As our customers demand more from us, they want to know that it works on Safari on their iPhone and on Chrome on their desktop. We need to continue to increase the amount of testing we're doing. And the only way to do that without increasing the amount of time it takes us to test is by testing in parallel. We have the scale to do that in our cloud, up to thousands of sessions concurrently. No testing tool is useful unless it can tell you what went wrong. And so, of course, we've got videos, screenshots, logs, and even some artificial intelligence called failure analysis to show us what's, help us understand the, where we can improve our automated testing and reduce false positives. And of course, CI/CD. We were talking a lot before about how we need to move more quickly and how test needs to be more integrated. And Source makes it really easy to use to do this as part of your CI/CD pipeline. We also have a large real device cloud. We have thousands and thousands of real devices in our cloud, both here in Europe and also in the United States. And so it's easy to improve our quality by having access to this really broad set of devices. I had a quick look before we started, and we have almost 300 different device configurations available, including, as Matt said, a lot of devices I've never heard of, but clearly they are out there. Your customers might be using it, and you might need access to make sure your app really works with these devices. And of course, we have access for you to run manual tests on these devices, but also automated tests using Appium and also XCUI test and Espresso, the native test frameworks for those platforms for Android and for iOS. So doesn't matter how you're doing your automation, there's a way to support that on Source Labs. We also have important features that help cover off all the different use cases that you might have in your app, from biometrics to image injection, so spoofing use of the camera for QR codes or other purposes. Device vitals, understanding the impact of our app on the hardware performance of our device. The use of mobile carrier networks, so actually having a SIM card in the device, two-factor authentication, other use cases we can deal with. We also have tools like virtual USB, which enables you to take a device that's in the cloud, connect it directly to Xcode or Android Studio on your laptop, and use that cloud device as if it is on your desk, doing all of the things that you'd expect. So we have a really large set of both capabilities and devices so that you can test your mobile apps or your mobile websites on all the devices your customers will be using. We were talking a little bit before about flawless experiences. And of course, it's not enough that our application just works functionally, that we can click on the buttons and certain things will happen, or we can swipe in a certain place and something will happen. Our applications need to look flawless. And so Source Visual is a new tool which helps us do testing to make sure that visually our application looks the same on all the different browsers and screen sizes that our customers may use. We have two different capabilities here. One which helps you test your web components. If you have Storybook components or React View or Angular, we can test those on all different browsers and screen sizes. We also have a full visual end-to-end product, which takes your Selenium apps or WebDriver IO and allows you to take visual checkpoints throughout your functional testing and check how that application looks as compared to baseline. So making sure that your applications look flawless. Again, it's not good enough to look flawless and for it to work functionally. It's also got to be performant. Source Performance is a capability for our web application, for our web testing, which allows us to assess performance of our application early on in our development cycle. So as we're doing our testing, we're also able to do a front-end performance test and assess whether or not the changes that we're making to the code of our application is increasing or decreasing the performance of that application. And that's easy to integrate directly into CI/CD to give us a holistic picture. Also, we have the Source Testrunner Toolkit. And actually, Matt mentioned this a little bit, or kind of touched on it. You might recall when I was talking about the DevOps test toolchain and how we want to be a single view of quality. Actually, I also mentioned that we want people to be able to use the test frameworks that make sense for their use case. So we've released the Source Testrunner Toolkit, which allows you to execute tests using Puppeteer, Cypress, Playwright, and Test Cafe, either locally in a container on your laptop, and then upload the test results into Source Labs so you continue to maintain visibility, or actually run those tests on a Source Labs virtual machine in the cloud. So the Testrunner Toolkit is incredibly powerful because it enables people to use whatever test framework, whatever test automation framework they want, but it still gives people the access and a collaboration point of the Source Labs dashboard to see what testing has actually taken place. Finally, of course, we have strong insights. Ingesting all of this data from test and from quality signal across the pipeline onto one platform gives us the ability to provide information about what sort of testing is happening so that we can build this digital confidence. We have test results through the test overview and trends dashboards, which give you a complete view of where test is working and where it's not. We have some really interesting technology in failure analysis, which uses machine learning to give you insight into where your scripts are failing most often, how often, and if there is an opportunity for you to improve your script to reduce flakiness. The test trends also uncover blockers so that you can start focusing effort on specific areas. And it might be a specific functional area, or it might uncover, for example, that you are getting many more failures in, let's say, Internet Explorer than you are in Chrome. It'll allow you to focus your resources where it's going to make the most amount of difference. And so really, in conclusion, what you've seen is our kind of vision to be the single view of quality across your pipeline. And I then covered a set of different capabilities that we believe help to build a world of digital confidence, where you're able to release code into production with full confidence that it is going to provide a flawless experience for your customers. We obviously feel that we have some unique capabilities that we can provide, and we also have a unique take on the world of tests, whether it's, you know, as Matt said, our expertise or our commitment to open source. You know, we were co-founded by the creator of Selenium. We continue to have a really strong commitment to the open source community. We think we have a unique set of capabilities and a unique vision that will help you build digital confidence.